Hey guys, welcome to another episode of All American Cooking. Today on All American Cooking, we are making leftovers great again. Y'all remember the smoked prime rib that I just did not too long ago, right? If you haven't seen that video, go check it out right there. Today we're going to turn that into an amazing, epic, and super easy cheesesteak sandwich. Now the weather hasn't been agreeing with me. It's Midwest, and even though it's like late April, it's snowing outside. I wanted to use the flat top outside, but instead we're using a cast iron griddle pan inside the house on the stove. So we're going to show you how these containers can be your best friend in the kitchen, and it's going to be a great sandwich. It's going to be a great episode, so stick around to the end. Make sure you check out the cheese stretch because this thing is amazing. So if you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to this channel for more. If you want to leave me a like, that would help too. If you want to leave me a comment, all of this helps me, helps this channel grow so I can bring more content to you guys. Let's get into the smoked prime rib cheesesteak sandwich. We begin with a poblano pepper, also known as a pasilla. I like to lop the top off of this kid, and you see all that junk inside? Well, very carefully, take your knife and just cut the ribs away very carefully all the way around. There should only be 3, sometimes there's 4. And then once you've got it kind of loosened up, you can reach in there with your hand and just pull that lump of seeds out of there. Once you get it out of there, you can go ahead and tap that chili upside down, get as many of the seeds out as you can. And you see all those ribs are still in there, so next thing we have to do is we have to slice this thing down the middle. And then we're just gonna very carefully with our knife run along the edge and get rid of that membrane, those ribs, that extra bit of seeds. It's not really going to bring any spice to the dish, but it's going to clean up the pepper really nice and make for a better cook and a better presentation. Now the next thing I like to do is lop the bottoms off of this, and you see how I've got the paper towel here? Makes for easy cleanup. A little tip from your Uncle Mike. Now we're going to take that pepper, we're going to flatten it out, and we're just going to slice really nice thin strips off of this kid. Slice all the way through, both halves. Nice thin strips, keep them as even as you possibly can. So all these strips, you see, they're way too long. When you eat them, they're gonna hang off the sandwich. Let's just cut those in half to make nice little bite-sized pieces. You probably recognize this as a standard yellow onion. About small, medium size is fine. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna cut it in half lengthwise from root end to stem end, pole to pole if you wanna call it, and clear away that extra little bit. And then we're gonna cut the tip off here just like that. I like to call that circumcising my onion. Look at how easily this one peels. Just get rid of that skin. And then we're just gonna cut thin slices. I call these the half moon onions. This is my favorite way to cut an onion for stir fry, for sandwiches, for whatever. And remember, safety first. As you get close to the end, use your fingers as a guide. Do not lop off your fingers. Once your onion is sliced, break up all those pieces to loose little strands of onion. And here's where those deli containers come in handy. We can separate what we need, use what we need when we need it, refrigerate the rest. Now, the prime rib, the leftover prime rib, I kept this in the freezer for about 15-20 minutes or so it's nice and firm. Makes it a lot easier to cut. You can see it's way too long again, so we're gonna cut this kid in half, and then we're gonna cut nice thin little strips so that we can saute this steak beautifully. And again, remember, as you get towards the end, use your fingers as a guide. We don't need any chunks of finger in with our steak. Now you can take whatever parts of this steak that you've cut and turn it whichever way you want and get whatever size strips you want. I like to keep everything about bite size. Some of these are a little long. So this kid, the other half, I'm gonna cut in half again, and we're gonna cut smaller bite-sized pieces. Everything is gonna be wonderful. We've got some little bites, we've got some slightly larger bites. Everything's gonna be fine, we're gonna be great, it's gonna be delicious. Just wait and see. Don't forget, safety, use your fingers as a guide. Now before we head over to the stovetop, let's attend to our bread. I've got this beautiful sub roll here. It did not come split, so I'm gonna take my bread knife and as carefully as I can, because I'm not always good at this, I'm gonna try to slice this kid right down the middle. Do not slice all the way through. We wanna make sure this thing is hinged nicely. Use the knife to kind of peel it apart. Don't break. It looks like we've done some very fine work here. I always leave a butter dish out on the countertop so that my butter is nice and soft and easily spread. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna spread some nice softened butter all over this kid so that it can be grilled. And of course we have to add a little bit of garlic powder because we like flavor. And over on the stovetop, our cast iron griddle, we're gonna hit with some Wagyu tallow. Now I've got this thing on medium heat. It's covering 2 burners. Both burners are at medium heat. Once your Wagyu tallow melts, spread it around with your spatula and then hit it with a knob of butter and let that start to melt. Now the beauty about this is with those deli containers, we don't have to cook everything all at once. So we're just gonna take what we need for the sandwich we're gonna cook. I'm gonna start with a small amount of the thin slices of poblano. Let those kids start to cook before I add some onions and let those start to cook. Notice I'm putting them in the middle of the pan because the burners are on the ends, so the middle is the coolest spot on the pan. I want these kids to cook nice and slowly. And now we're just cooking some peppers and onions. Every once in a while, give these kids a gentle toss, but for the next 5 to 7 minutes, just let them cook. And when the onions are golden brown and the peppers are starting to smell fragrant and delicious, that's when I like to season with a little bit of kosher salt and some freshly ground black pepper. And then let's add our meat. Again, we only need to add what we're going to use for the sandwich. That's why I like using these deli containers because they'll keep in the fridge for a couple of 2-3 days and everything will be great. So just add what you need for the sandwich. Toss that meat around. Remember, it's already cooked. We're just kind of warming it through because it's been in the freezer, so it's cold. Start to combine the meat and the peppers and the onions, get everybody to know each other and push everybody into a nice pile in the middle because the middle of the pan is receiving the least amount of direct heat. That way nothing will burn. Remember our buttered bread? Well, this is the perfect time to start grilling it. I've got a griddle pan on the burner next to me that's been warming up over medium heat. So we're gonna put that cut side down, let that butter melt, let that bread become golden brown and crispy and delicious. And we'll let this pile of deliciousness just sit and simmer for the next couple of minutes. And when the bread comes off the other griddle pan, it's time to add our cheese. I've got 1 slice of provolone and 1 slice of mozzarella. We're gonna place those on top of our pile of magic and put a lid over it to help it melt. And after a couple of 2-3 minutes under the lid, oh, look at what we have done here. That is absolutely fantastic. So very carefully, take your spatula and get up as much of that goodness as you can and scoop it into your bun. Notice I've cut that bread in half because I only wanted half a sandwich. Just take a look at this gloriousness. Smoked prime rib turned into a cheesesteak sandwich. I mean, can it be wrong? I don't think so. I say make leftovers great again. So I'm gonna go right in here on this corner, right there. You see it? That's my bite. Wow. That little bit of smokiness from the prime rib just really makes it all happen. The onions, the poblano, the richness of that Wagyu fat with the butter, the garlic butter, I mean the texture, it's perfect. It is the perfect leftover sandwich, super quick and easy to make. And then you got everything stored in these little containers, which makes it so easy to just refrigerate and use them when you need them. They're good for probably 2 or 3 days. Man, make this. You saw us make the prime rib. Make this. Make leftovers great again. Don't eat boring food. I'll see you next time. All American Cooking.